Hey, so I wanted to start the discussion regarding mental health and, excuse me while I mess with my computer for a minute. But I wanted to start the discussion regarding, and I'm not a professional by any means or an expert or anything, so this is purely just my experience and my opinion on it, but I wanted to open up the discussion regarding mental health issues and medical or recreational pot use, because I've seen a lot of contradictory both media reports and actual scientific research and whatnot. So I just wanted to throw out my opinion. And if you guys have your own experience or are curious or questions or opinions or whatever, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. But personally, right now I do smoke pot is how I would say that I do use medical marijuana. I don't always. I use it very sparingly, and I say it's medical because I use it when I smoke pot or marijuana, whatever you prefer to, whichever term, they all mean the same thing. But when I use it, it's strictly for a quote unquote medical, excuse me, it's just for a medical reason. Um, which I find it funny they say medical because it's also used for psychological reasons and benefits, but that's just classified under this big umbrella of medical versus recreational. So, personally, I use it medicinally, and I use it very sparingly. Part of that is because I'm what's called lightweight, meaning it doesn't take a lot to get me, well, high, I guess you would say. I don't know what the medical term for that is. Um, and personally, I don't like to be high. I prefer just the medicinal effects of it rather as than the mind altering effects of it. Um, I do not think weed, marijuana, pot, whatever the heck you want to call it, is a bad thing. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's harmful, even if you do struggle with mental illness. Um, I think at times it can be extremely beneficial, actually. Like, as you guys have probably figured out, I struggle myself with mental illness. I have got issues coming out my butt, from post traumatic stress disorder to anxiety to insomnia to dissociative identity disorder to you name it. I also have several parasomnia issues, um, which, if you guys don't know what that means, it's a big umbrella term. Somniac disorders are anything from having night terrors to sleep paralysis, anything out of the realm that can't fully be explained by science. Anyways, feel free to look it up. I'm not going to get into that. But so, as you obviously have figured out, I have mental health issues and I use it. I find it to be very helpful, especially for my insomnia, for one. It really helps. And it helps with my post traumatic stress disorder, in that I have flashbacks anywhere from 5 to 15 times a day. And they're all on a sliding scale, so some of those 5 to 10 to 15 or whatever, they can be really minor where nobody even knows I just had a flashback. Where it's like, oh, it might be something in my reaction, maybe something so simple as I just kind of, shake my head a little bit and nobody knows, to a full-blown curled in a fetal position crying, you name it. Total typical stereotypical image that people come up when they see the word or hear the word flashback. But when I'm using or smoking marijuana, those decrease significantly, and the level of distress or upsetness that I feel in reaction to those flashbacks is significantly diminished. So it helps with the PTSD. It also helps with my nightmares. I'm not going to tell you that you're not going to have nightmares. That is not my experience. I still have them, but I don't remember them. And for me, that was the most upsetting part, is I remembered them. And since I have started to consistently use marijuana on a regular basis, I have them, but I don't remember them. I couldn't tell you if I did have them or not. The only way I would know is if I happened to have one while I had my video camera on. So, insomnia also just helps me fall asleep and stay asleep for a regular period of time, because prior to using marijuana, I was only sleeping 2 to 3 hours a night. Period. Maybe. Possibly. And that would be my normal sleep. And now on it, although it still seems like a really low amount of sleep, I'm getting about 5 to 6 hours a night, which for me is amazing. I haven't slept that long since I was a kid. So anyways, those are just some of, I'm trying to keep this video short. It's already at 5 minutes. But those are just some of the benefits I experience. Some suggestions if you're looking into it. It's not bad. It's not going to hurt you. And that's some of the misconceptions I see out there, is people think marijuana is bad. And there's really nothing bad about it. It's like saying a cupcake is bad. No, it's not. It's something that tastes good and make you feel better. It's when you sit there and eat a whole dozen of them that it becomes quote unquote bad. It's when you take it to excess or whatnot. There is, and I'm not going to get into it because I'd have to pull all my crap up. And you can look them up yourself on Google. But there's tons of research that shows that it reduces tumors and regrows stem cells, which are those cells you want, because they're kind of like blank slates and can be made into any kind of cell that you need them to be. So, and all sorts of stuff. So there's tons of benefits to it. I am just going to throw my opinion out here, and this will irritate some people, and that's fine. I do not condone recreational use of marijuana. And that is simply because that would be like me condoning recreational use of Latuda or Xanax or any other drug that's typically okay. You're using it to, when you're using it recreational, you're using it as a coping skill and not medicinally. And that coping skill is in order to numb you out, to disconnect, or calm you down and whatnot. But that's a medicinal use, is my opinion. When you take it recreationally, I truly believe there is no longer any medicinal use to it. You may get a medicinal benefit out of it, but it's not a medicinal use. You're using it to simply feel good and be high and be silly and super carefree and whatnot. And it's the same opinion I would have if you sat there and told me you used Xanax because it made you silly and happy, and I'd be like, no, that's not okay. So that is my opinion on medical versus recreational. I feel there's no need to be using it recreational. I feel like if you're using it simply for the get high factor, you were trying to fill a void and you need to go talk to a friend, do some soul searching, go get a therapist, psychiatrist. Really think what getting high is, where it's getting you and what it's doing for you, and try and get to the bottom of why you need to do that behavior. But that's just my opinion. I'm not an expert or anything. Just my opinion. Just some opinions about using it medically. Don't do it for your first time alone. I know there's, especially now that it's legal in, like, I don't know, 5 states at least. But here in Oregon, it's definitely legal, both recreational, which is stupid in my opinion, but recreational and medical marijuana are now legal in Oregon, and I know that since they legalized it, there's been a lot more people interested in it. They're not so afraid of it because they're not going to get in trouble if they're using it. So if you're thinking about potentially trying it out or seeing if it's something helpful for you, just some pointers, do your research. Don't just go to your buddy Joe down the street who you know smokes and be like, hey, can I have a hit? Um, just because it's kind of like, why would you start any other kind of medication without knowing what it is you're taking, what are the side effects, all that kind of stuff. So definitely do your research so you know kind of what to expect, some of the side effects of it. It's a medication, it's just a different form of medication. So do your research. Also, do not try it alone for the first time because, like any other kind of medication, it can have adverse effects. And that's partly why I don't smoke very often, or didn't used to, is because every once in a while I would smoke, and instead of calming me down and making my anxiety better, it would actually escalate me, where I was more anxious, I was more paranoid, I was very dissociated, and it just wasn't a fun time. And that's kind of an adverse effect. And putting it simply, an adverse effect is just something that is kind of like the opposite effect that you're expecting. So you would expect to feel calm and relaxed, and you might get wound up. So definitely don't try it by yourself. Have a friend or a parent or somebody with you. They don't need to smoke if they don't want to, but just have someone with you in case you're not sure what's going on, or you feel funny, or it's making you worse, or whatever. Second of all, I would not recommend you go to your buddy down the street and get it from him. I don't condone that. Because your buddy Joe could be smoking Lord only knows what. I'm not insulting people's friends or saying that people who smoke and get it from somewhere that's not a dispensary are smoking something other than marijuana. I'm not trying to insinuate that, but they could be. And that's the risk when you get these people who grow it and don't go through the medical or dispensary programs, is they've got free reign, they can do whatever they want, basically. And you could be getting whatever you want. Whereas with a dispensary, you're talking about people who had to go through training, qualifications, testing, you name it. This stuff goes through check after check after check. So they're going to know exactly what they're giving you. And you have more choices. You can sit there and go in there and say, hey, I don't want to be high. I just want the benefits, and they will give you something with 0 THC, which is the chemical that makes you high. So get it from a dispensary. Obviously, don't use it to excess. Use only the amount necessary to, whatever. Other main point, treat it as a medication. Meaning, this is just my opinion on it, and I'm a huge stickler on shit like this, so this is just my opinion, but don't treat it like you would your Xanax, or I don't know, whatever other medications you may or may not be on. Treat it just as seriously. Hopefully you would not be someone that saw that your friend had sleeping problems, and without any concern or regard to their safety or how it may interact or anything like that, go, hey, I have Latuda, why don't you take some? Because no, that's your fucking medication. That's like your pills, they're drugs. You don't know how they're going to interact with them, if they're allergic or what. Marijuana is the same thing. I believe if you're using it medicinally, you shouldn't be giving it out. It's a medication. Don't be giving it to your buddies. So that's my opinion. If you guys have any, like I said, if you have any other experiences, opinions, questions, like I said, not an expert or anything, but that's just my opinion. I definitely think it can be a good thing. Just do your homework. But if you guys have any experiences or have tried it yourself or thinking about it, feel free to comment in the section below. And if you haven't subscribed, you can click over here and subscribe as well. Might be over there. I don't know. There's a button somewhere that you can subscribe, because that way you'll be notified that anytime I put out new videos. I'm trying really hard to keep them semi-regular, but I'm not always the best at that. So also feel free to message me, comment, get a hold of me on Facebook, or I'm only on Facebook, or email. If you have any video topic suggestions of things you'd like me to talk about. Alright, bye guys. And